All right, today we're going to get into something pretty deep, but also incredibly practical. This idea of becoming the person you truly are. We'll be pulling from some big ideas in philosophy and also looking at what modern psychology has to say about it. So let's just jump right in with a question for you. Think about it for a second. Have you ever felt like you're kind of putting on a show? You know that the person you are out in public, maybe at work or even with some of your friends, isn't quite the same person you are when you're all alone? If that resonates with you at all, you are definitely not alone. This feeling, this split between our public self and our private self, is a super common part of being human. It's this constant tension between who we really are at our core and who we think we need to be to get by. And what's wild is that this all starts way back when we're kids. The philosopher John Locke pointed out that our sense of self is basically built from our life experiences. And from a very young age, right, our families, the media, school, they all teach us what's considered normal. And without even realizing it, we start building this public persona, this sort of mask that's designed to fit in and get that approval. Well, this internal tug of war, that feeling of just not being comfortable in your own skin, the 19th century philosopher Søren Kierkegaard had a powerful word for it. He called it despair. And he didn't just mean being sad. He was talking about that specific nagging ache that comes from not being true to yourself. So what was Kierkegaard's answer to this deep feeling of despair? Well, he gave us this powerful, almost deceptively simple instruction. He said the path to a meaningful life wasn't about trying to become some better version of yourself, but to simply be the self which you truly are. So the huge takeaway here is that real fulfillment, what some of the ancient philosophers called human flourishing, it doesn't come from winning a popularity contest or playing a part. No, it comes from doing the hard, courageous work of discovering, accepting, and then actually living as your true self.
Okay, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It sounds great in a philosophy book, but how do we actually do it in our messy, everyday lives? Well, believe it or not, modern psychology gives us a really practical roadmap for this.
Here's a cool way to think about it. Imagine your own personal development is like upgrading the operating system on your computer. You know, the basic software that runs all your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. See, we all start out with the emotional mind operating system. It's our factory setting, right? It runs on pure feeling. It's really powerful, but it can also be super reactive and a little unreasonable. So as we get older, most of us install an update, the rational mind. This one runs on logic and rules. But it's got its own bugs too. It can make us rigid, overthink everything, and get totally disconnected from how we actually feel. But the real goal, the ultimate OS upgrade, is what's called the wise mind. Now, this isn't about getting rid of the old systems. It's about integrating them. The wise mind acknowledges your feelings without being a slave to them, and it uses logic without being cold and robotic. It's that sweet spot of mature, reflective, growth-oriented thinking. And this is where it gets really powerful. When you're operating from your wise mind, you have so much more capacity to handle life's complexities. It's like you can finally run those really demanding programs like deep empathy, real virtue, and positive social influence without getting overwhelmed and, well, crashing the system.
So let's pause for a second. We do all this inner work. We upgrade our internal OS, but why? What's the end game here? What is the ultimate purpose of all this?
You know, there's actually a perfect word for this, and it comes to us from the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle. He called it eudaimonia. Now, it's often translated as just happiness, but that word is way too small. Eudaimonia is much deeper. It means human flourishing, living a life of true meaning and purpose. And flourishing isn't just some fleeting good mood. It's a state of being that you build by consistently practicing virtues, things like honesty, integrity, and authenticity. Wait a minute, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Achieving eudaimonia is the direct result of what Kierkegaard was talking about all along, escaping despair by being true to yourself.
So how do we get there? Well, it's not some big mystery. This journey toward the wise mind and eudaimonia follows a pretty clear path. It all starts with step 1, self-awareness, that classic wisdom to know thyself. Once you know yourself, you can move to step 2, self-management. You can manage your own thoughts and reactions. And that internal work then opens the door to step 3, social awareness, where you can really start to understand other people. And all of that comes together in step 4, social influence, where you can actually create positive change in the world, not by putting on a mask, but by being your fully authentic self.
So, you see, becoming your true self isn't just some lofty, abstract idea from old philosophy books.
It is the most practical and profound journey you can ever take. And it all boils down to these two questions, which I'll just leave you with. Who do you want to become? And maybe even more importantly, who are you truly prepared to become?